U.S. Democratic candidate Kamala Harris has delivered a key campaign speech, which aides have touted as her closing argument to voters. It comes a week ahead of the November 5th presidential election and took place at the Ellipse near the White House in Washington, D.C. And this site is significant as it was where her Republican rival Donald Trump encouraged the Capitol insurrection on January 6, 2021. Ms. Harris urged voters to turn the page on the Trump era, saying the former president is in it only for himself. She called on voters to reject him, highlighting his alleged ill intentions should he win. Now, Trump, meantime, responded to Ms. Harris's scathing remarks about him by attacking her actions as vice president. At a rally in Pennsylvania, he called his Democratic opponent a phony, citing her apparent flip-flop over fracking. He also slammed her for the migrant crisis along the border with Mexico, accusing her of allowing an invasion.
Over the past 4 years, Kamala orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has inflicted upon its people. She allowed this to happen to us. She allowed us to be invaded. We were invaded. This was a massive invasion of criminals. She has violated her oath, eradicated our sovereign border, and unleashed an army of migrant gangs who are waging a campaign of violence and terror against our citizens. It's vicious what's happening. They're killing our people.
Benji Haya, who was covering Harris's speech, breaks down the messages she was trying to send.
A week to go until polls close, and this was Kamala Harris's big chance to offer her final pitch to Americans. This rally was attended by tens of thousands of people, with it focused on a future of freedom and hope, key themes in her campaign. But this speech was as much about symbolism as it was substance. The location, we're just a stone's throw from the White House behind me, the timing, the American flags, the signs saying USA. This was all intentional. It all was to send a message that, in the words of Kamala Harris, she is putting country above party, above self.
I pledge to you to approach my work with the joy and optimism that comes from making a difference in people's lives. And I pledge to be a president for all Americans. And to always put country above party and self.
She drew a stark contrast between her and former President Donald Trump, someone she called an unstable wannabe dictator. She said that he represents, quote, chaos and division, referencing the January 6, 2021 attack on the US Capitol building and his more recent remarks, controversially, about going after his political opponents, people he brands as enemies from within.
He has an enemies list of people he intends to prosecute. He says that one of his highest priorities is to set free the violent extremists who insulted those law enforcement officers on January 6th. Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens who simply disagree with him. People he calls, quote, the enemy from within. America, this is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power.
She presented herself as a unifier, someone who can seek common ground, offer a different path, who can be a president for all Americans. That rhetoric was unsurprisingly lapped up by everyone that gathered here on Tuesday evening, but her mission would have been to reach out to the handful of undecided voters in those battleground states that could ultimately swing this election that is still very much on a knife edge. Benji Haya, CNA, Washington.